today are more budgetary than anything. We've got a few miscellaneous items we'll discuss, but basically we'll be talking primarily about budget and items that we may need to purchase before long and that will affect our budget. So we talked briefly the other day about the possibilities of, well, we have the need and the possibilities of purchasing a garbage truck in the near future, maybe this coming fiscal year. And so Mike Johnson pretty much is in charge of our sanitation and the sanitation needs, and we've discussed this back and forth a couple of times, and today he has a guest here that is in the sanitation business in a big way. He actually sells the trucks and helps put the trucks together and the deals together. So we've got an expert in the room, and I'm going to let Mike introduce him. They're friends, and I'd like for them to, we'll call them friends for the time being.
That's right.
Anyway, Mike, if you'll just introduce our guest, I'd appreciate it.
Well, this is Will Hovatter. He works for Ingram Equipment in Pelham.
Pelham, yes, sir.
Will and I have talked several times over the last 3 or 4 years about looking into purchasing a garbage truck, and we've got a couple of options that we want to present to you about what type trucks we want to get and those kind of things. Will's got 18 years or so experience in the business, and we've purchased garbage trucks from his company over the last probably 2 or 3 trucks that's been purchased. We purchased from them. They're a real reputable company. We've never had any issues as far as having service work done up there on the boxes or whatever it needs to be done. But anyway, this is Will. He's going to tell you about.
Before Will starts, I want you to go over with this group, and I want you to tell them what we're working out of now, what you have to work with currently.
Okay, I will. Right now we've got 3 waste trucks. We've got 1 spare truck. We run 2 trucks daily, and we're picking up somewhere around 2,600 stops a week, and that's about 250 stops per truck a day. We're down now. Our newest truck is a 2011 International. It's got 155,000 miles on it, right at 13,000 hours. Then our next newest truck is a 2007 model Freightliner that has 225,000 miles on it. And then we've got a 1999 International that's our spare truck that has 197,000 miles on it. And to kind of regress a little bit, what my overall plan is to possibly take the 1999 model and take the box off of it and convert it to a dump truck, which will give us a pretty nice dump truck. And I think we can do that fairly reasonably. We've already got a bed to put on it. It's just some work that had to be done to it to convert it to a dump truck. So, you know, if you're talking, you know, you say, well, the 2011 model's got 155,000 miles on it. That's not like 155,000 miles on a car going down the highway. They're under strain the entire time, and we've spent a lot of money over the last couple of years trying to keep the trucks that we've got going, because we've absolutely got to have the type trucks that we've got now. We've got to have 2 trucks running daily. So we're talking with Will we think we can continue using the same type truck we've got now, or we can do something different, which I think in the long run will pay off for us. So I'll kind of let Will explain to you the different type trucks. Right now, we're running 6 people on garbage. So, and we got the old type flipper style beds on the back, so you gotta have 2 people on the back. So, Will, if you will,
Yeah.
Does that cover pretty much
I
what?
just wanted to know where we were currently
Yeah.
and where we're trying to get through Will. I want Will to bring us forward from there, showing us where we could go by making this next step.
Yeah, well, currently you guys run a rear loader. You know, that's where you throw the old garbage in the rear. It's got the sweeping packer. And that requires, manual assistance on the back of the truck. And in a lot of cases it's 2. A lot of times you got 2 laborers on the back and then a driver, so it's a 3-man crew. So what we've been discussing, it's really been kind of an ongoing discussion for a few years now, was going to a 1-man system where you've got the automated truck arm. And, it's more and more we're seeing the transition from, and there's different reasons that push that transition to going to what's called an automated system. Where you've got a 1-man, a can out in front of every house, and you've got a 1 driver that's picking up, the route instead of 3. And a lot of factors that kind of go into why people change. Safety is one of them. We had, people riding on the back of a truck. And these days, these things are everywhere, and there's just a lot more chance to have an accident or somebody actually, run into the back of it. And firemen have been on fire trucks a long time now. By law, they're up in the cab. If you notice, these cabs are all bigger. So that's what we've been discussing was, would it fit here? And we've got a lot of references around you now they're doing this system this way. I mean, the little town of Ewan's been automated probably for 11 or 12 years now, or longer. They've even cycled through a truck, maybe close to 15 years. Just so you know who we are, my name is Will Hovatter. I'm with Ingram Equipment Company. We're based out of Birmingham. We're one of the few companies that really provide a refuse service. We're a refuse service company. We have all kinds of different products, from the brush truck that y'all have and knuckle booms and service trucks, but we're good at fixing this stuff, and we're pretty unique in our area. We have office in Mobile and Tallahassee, Florida, so we cover a good portion of the central southeast. So we've been around a while. The company's probably 45, 50 years old now. And I've been with them 18 years, so I've kind of covered this area since I started. I've always been from the Franklin County area, and so this is home to me up in here. So I've always covered it pretty well. But so really, that's basically what we were talking about, was how to transition you from rear loader to automated, and would it work? Obviously, I believe it'll work. I don't have any doubt we can run the routes with a single axle automated truck, but and that's really why I'm here today. There are things you have to take into consideration when you're doing those systems. You really need that automated can in front of everybody's house, and that's some of the stuff we've kind of put together on some number packages here. I don't know if everybody's got that or not. By the way, I apologize. I had a nice little brochure packet I had put together for y'all, and my printer started to sound like a weed eater this morning, so it's like that and it just quit. So I was like, uh-oh. I had about 3 appointments before here, so I never could get by the library or anything. But I'm here to answer questions, describe the systems, whatever y'all want to know about it. We've got a lot of experience. We've helped a lot of cities transition from rear loader to automated. And I'll say one more thing, talking about the different reasons for doing it. I've had every kind of reason, from labor issues. That's been the number one. A lot of the bigger counties that we've taken that way, that run 10 or 12 trucks, are struggling to find labor for the back of the trucks. Safety is another one, and then really economically, it's even though the trucks cost a little more on the front end, they actually can, if they're ran efficiently and you take care of the truck, you know, you can run it at a little bit less cost, overall cost of ownership than it is to do a rear loader. Mainly that's because you're taking the labor and, you know, you're removing quite a bit of labor from the back of the truck, which is a pretty high expense. You know, you're going from 3 people to 1 person. Most cities and counties that I've dealt with this type setup have needed that labor. At other places, they needed it more than they needed on the back of a rear loader. So we were able to kind of shift those laborers over to other jobs. Or like in Ewan's case, when they started it way back when, you know, they had a couple of gentlemen that were real close to retirement age. You know, they were able to they didn't necessarily have to push to rehire. You know, they had that choice. They kind of had, you know, because they didn't need as much labor force as they did afterwards.
What I'm considering is the fact that we're short labor on the street department side. So what I would like to do is take the people off the back of the garbage truck and transfer them over to the street side. And that's where we would make up our labor shortage.
It's like that. How much difference are there in this truck and the other?
Base truck, we quoted both.
Yes.
You know, I sent quotes on both. There is about of this. I'm trying to remember.
It's about
It's probably about $60,000-$70,000 difference between the initial truck price.
and the two.
But you're getting, like I said, you're getting a robotic arm, which is most of the cost. That will grab the can and pick it up, put it in. The other cost is you do need, like I said, the cans on the initial purchase. I've not seen many communities that were unhappy to get the cans, you know, throughout the.
Well, is that including the cans you're speaking of?
Well, no, the can purchase, I included that in the price.
The quote prices show, on both of them, we've included the cans. And of course, on the sidearm load, we're gonna have to do some rerouting in order to and that's included in the price too, so.
Well, how much money are we having to spend more than what we'd have to spend to just buy the garbage truck we got now and still have 2 people on there?
Are you talking about just a truck?
Yeah,
It's all about the whole deal, the switching over. How much more is it gonna cost us?
I think the.
$370,000?
That's for,
303. Yeah.
That would be with the trucks, the cans, putting the trucks out, route planning assistance, and I think we even have a year's worth of, and that's adding some lift capabilities to a current truck you have, where you can utilize your old rear loader as a backup as y'all move through this until you get where you can have your next purchase for, buying.
see what we're, and Will might can explain this to you. We're anticipating, once we get the system implemented, that we can do our entire garbage route with 1 truck versus 2 trucks. Except one day of the week, we're still gonna have to use one of our older trucks to make it work good, to pick up dumpsters and the housing projects.
Well, that's gonna make a lot of difference.
The housing projects are gonna be, we pretty much got to stay with what we're doing now, the way the parking and stuff is at the projects. We can't reach over a vehicle to get a garbage can, so we still have to manually bring it out to the road and dump it in the rear loaders.
So you're saying 1 truck's gonna take the place of 2 trucks, except on
Eventually.
one day?
Eventually, yes.
And so that's gonna free up 5 men?
Well, potentially, yeah. I mean, I don't wanna guarantee 5 men, but, because on one day a week, you're gonna have 3 riding the garbage truck, the rear loader. But it has the capacity, the truck that we're talking about has the capacity, if we can get our system work so that we can.
The main thing is going to be capacity, and we're trying to, set up a truck that, the speed of the operator, when you get on these type trucks, their route picks up quicker. Eventually, you know, once they get used to the routes, we've just implemented this for Franklin County and the city of Russellville. And they're doing probably double the population size with 2 trucks. Now, they're driving about 10 miles to landfill. I know y'all have to drive a lot farther to dump, but you still have a pretty close proximity, but, you know, there's also other choices there. That's the main thing. The truck capacity may be filled at times, but, you know, we may have to dump, but we're gonna get the route up quite a bit quicker with a lot fewer laborers.
So if we have to dump in the middle of the day, I mean, how's that gonna work out? The dump, I mean.
We're averaging on a daily basis between 8 and 9 tons a day,
The capacity of this truck's gonna be right at that.
right at 8. So we should be able to, but this is not gonna happen overnight. We're gonna have to do some adjusting to the way we're doing things now.
And there may be some route balancing that we can figure out through this, because I know y'all got some heavy days.
We got some heavy days and some light days, but on an average, we're somewhere around 8.5 tons a day.
But when you get used to it, what you're saying is that you think it's gonna save us some money. That's what we're interested in.
I think it will, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And it'll be a lot more
And
efficient.
we'll be able to move some people over onto the street side, which is where we really need more help.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to hire some people.
Otherwise, we'll need to hire a couple of those people.
One other aspect of that probably y'all can look at, and we kind of talked about it, but it's been kind of a result of us doing this with a lot of cities and counties, was when they go to rate your workman's comp ratings on the insurance, your rear loader operator, garbage truck operator that has the potential of being on the back of the rear loader, their whatever algorithm or whatever it is they use to calculate the rate is higher than if you're carrying a gun in a lot of cases. We learned this at Walker County. And then it drops that operator back to basically a dump truck driver, which is, you know, not much liability, as much liability there. So you do have some other savings that may be generated just by changing the system to an automated.
And there's other benefits to it too. We'd end up doing away with all these bins, you know, trash in containers that shouldn't be used as trash containers or whatever. We think that the cleanup, you know, where you get trash and stuff scattered from dogs and animals getting in their garbage and scattering it. The people that have these cans are, you just don't see a lot of trash around those. So I think it would help too as far as cleanup. And it would give you a way of better metering your garbage, you know.
Well, what are you gonna do about these people that don't buy the garbage can?
Well, what we're talking about in this is that the garbage can's included in the price.
Okay.
Everyone that gets garbage.
Every person will get a garbage
A
can.
qualifying
See,
garbage
when we
can.
talked about that before, it was gonna cost $85,000 for everybody to get a flipper can, and that wasn't agreeable.
Yeah.
But that was the cost for everybody to have a flipper can. Last time we talked about garbage, it was $85,000.
We'll need to get the manual type truck if we don't get a can for everybody to use, because that arm's not gonna pick up those odds and ends cans that we're picking
That's
up
right.
now.
That's right.
Is it, and we're gonna have to pay for the cans to begin with? That's gonna be another expense to us, Mike, is that right? She's
It's
talking
all,
about
it
$85,000.
can all be financed within the garbage truck
Yeah.
price.
It's included with the garbage truck part. What I gave him was just kind of a package where we even have a company that comes in and assembles the cans and puts them out at all the residents. So really but you do have, to answer your question, yes, you would need to, and then you can decide, I know y'all have had some residents buy their own can. You know, that's the decision, I guess it's gotta be made here, but really you would need that can makes the system work better. If you're grabbing a little Walmart can, I've grabbed those before, but it's not what you really want with that. And if you lose it in the hopper, Now you're trying to buy them a can, so.
Don't get me wrong now. We can continue doing what we're doing now.
But what do you think, you're the man that's got to do it? Are you
Well-
recommending are we going in the long run save money? Is that what you're saying, I guess?
The bottom line is, we're gonna have to buy a truck.
Yeah.
Either we buy one and stay status quo with the way it is, or we can buy an automated truck that's gonna take us into the future to where we're not having to worry about laborers on the back. We're gonna clean up the town, and the insurance issues, I'm not familiar with that, but, and our labor issues would be the way I think we need to go. And it wouldn't surprise me, quite honestly, somewhere down the road that OSHA or somebody's gonna come in and say, nobody's gonna be riding on the back of a garbage truck. That, like Will said, the fires can't do it now, so I would think it's gonna cost us more up front.
Yeah.
But I think,
It's dangerous.
I think
hard
down
job.
the road, I think we'd be better off.
So the flipper cans that we already have are gonna work with this truck,
They'll
or
work.
they're
Those
not?
you bought are the same.
The thing about that, Tammy, is we've got to decide if we want to force someone to buy a can.
I thought we ought to give everybody one last time.
Right. Or that's one less hurdle that we're gonna have to jump if we give everybody a can. And there's, people aren't gonna be upset that they're gonna have to buy a can that's gonna fit our garbage truck.
But we're just gonna give one can,
We're gonna give one can.
and if you lose your can.
Well, it's gonna belong to the city.
it's- Well, I mean, like me, I already bought my can, so my can belongs to me. So you're not gonna give me one.
No, we're gonna give you one.
Yeah, you'll give
So I'm gonna have
it.
two cans?
You'll have two cans.
We're gonna give
Yeah.
one of them to somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, to me, if I've already got a can and I don't want two cans, then
Well,
that's
that's
just
another
extra
one.
money that the city's,
Well, that's true, but
you just said my can is
Yeah.
work.
it will work.
Okay.
But then you've got, are we gonna give everybody that's got a can credit for the can that they've already purchased and charge everybody else or not charge everybody else for one? Or are we gonna charge them for the can and let them pay it out over a 12-month period or whatever? I think to make things smoother, we just need to give everybody a can. And then you don't have all this.
So is there gonna be an extra charge at my house to pick up two cans of garbage when they're just picking up one can at your house?
Well, that's something that we'll need to talk about, because I've thought all along, it's not fair for you to pay $17 or whatever it is for a garbage can, charge you $17 for yours, and go across town over here to someone else's thing, and he's got one of these big bins and then the back of a pickup truck filled full of garbage waiting on the garbage truck. I think,
And he pays $17.
and they pay the same price. And that's what I was getting around to
Well,
about
one can.
metering your garbage. I think we've talked before, if you charge $17 for one can, and then if they've got two cans, then you prorate an amount for the second can. But I'm willing, if somebody's got two cans out there, appropriate cans that they need, if they've got them set where they need to be set, grab both of them.
If I had to make a suggestion, probably the simplest thing would be, first of all, the cans are 96 gallons. So the average Walmart can that you would go buy on your own is 33 gallons. So you're looking at triple the capacity. You're looking at a lot more stable can. As far as, I know you probably got, half the city that has bought a can?
It's about 50%.
I guess you could cross that bridge, or you could say, we're gonna grandfather that can in, and use it if they want. I mean, that's up to y'all, but it'd be hard to, I think it'd be hard, it sounds like to me it would be harder to meter, I'm gonna give everybody that's already got a can a discount. You know, maybe you give them a month's proration or something. I don't know if they want to use it, but usually if you start these systems, it's kind of nice to, put all the same cans out there with your city logo stamped on the side of it, and we know that's our can. And I've got a couple extra cans at my house. Being in this business, I've gotten a few over the years, and they make great wheelbarrows. They're really useful around the house. So you get a lot of stuff in them, and your rakes and all that stuff fit down in there, roll around. So it's not the worst thing in the world to have one.
And another thing too, and this is going to be a transition if we do it. There's going to be some aggravation in it. People aren't going to want to necessarily put the can where it needs to be. And I'm willing to do what I think's right for everybody, but we're going to have the public to work with us. You can't put the can right next to something. You've got to have room beside them to for the arm to reach out and be able to grab it. What my plan was for a while, we would run 2 people in that truck, and we'd try to work with the people if they're at home, tell them this is where it's got to be, and we may even have to move some around some, but eventually we'll want to get to where it's a one-man operation. Just
I'd like for
That's-
Will to address that matter. Will, having worked 18 years in this business and having sold a number of automated trucks, how long does it normally take a community to adjust to
Well,
it?
I've got a good example of that. Russellville, right here, Franklin County, we put their automated trucks in late May, and they actually started running their routes in June. And one of the things they were wanting to look at was how well it worked in the city. And then the county has that city contract, they do the city garbage, but so I've trained the operators, and this is true, you can ask them, but we went and put in a bunch of cans out at the stockyard, out in front of it, in the parking lot out there, just drove circles. And the whole goal was I was gonna train them there, and then I was gonna go ride on the route with them the first week after. They were gonna wait about a week. Well, they started it the following Monday. They started running their own trucks. I didn't even know. I called him. I said, "Hey, well, you ready for me to come up?" And he said, "Well, we've already doing it." And that's been 90 days now. And I've really done very little as far as having to do more training than initial showing them how to run the truck. They are getting the garbage up a lot quicker. We've got Gene Ward would be glad to be a great reference, because they have just done this in a city that's they're running 2 trucks in Russellville, which is I think, I don't know if it's quite double the population, but it's it's a little bigger area, and very, very tight, a lot of tight running and everything else, and it's worked phenomenally well. But to answer that, we've done just about every scenario from Guin, towns the size of Guin and Center and Piedmont, to county routes and the city of Huntsville. It's all pretty similar. The truck's gonna hold what it's gonna hold, and but in every case, we've seen a significant savings on labor, injuries, all of those things that go along with, the cost of operating a garbage system. And, the truck's more expensive on the front end, but the overall savings, we've actually seen it tend to be a more economical way to operate the system. One of the things nice about the cans is it does give you the chance to meter the garbage. We go to, Walker County was a good example, like he was talking about. You pull up at a can and it's down, there's a street, and one guy's paying a garbage bill, because they're not really enforcing a mandatory garbage, but there'd be enough garbage for 10 houses scattered all around it. And you know what was happening? Everybody was bringing it to the one guy that was on service. And so this can allow them to say, look, this is what we can get every week. The landfill rates don't get any cheaper. The cost of the equipment, I've seen it over my 18 years, everything's, had a price increase, rear loaders, automatics, all of them. So, you kind of gotta, it gives you a good way to meter it. The can in front, you can ride through these communities on garbage day, go through a subdivision or a neighborhood, those cans are sitting out there nice, there's not a lot of trash around them. You just have to decide whether, am I gonna work am I gonna stick with what's in the can and this is what we're gonna get, or are we gonna go, get extra? We're gonna get all the stuff around the can. That's a consideration, y'all need to make here. We do have the ability that if the driver has to exit the truck to go maybe assist someone that can't get their can to the road. You may have that, backdoor service. A lot of communities do that. But we have the trucks equipped with the ability to kind of work the arm like a cart tipper from outside the truck. So he can still dump the can and take it back. And, there's nothing wrong with stretching the legs a couple of times a day. But, so we've dealt with most every scenario. And I haven't had many that were unsuccessful at all.
Let me ask this. You're familiar with the equipment itself. When you pose something like this to a city like Hamilton, how do you decide kind of what you think our best scenario
I
and
look
needs?
at the capacity, first of all, how much garbage are we trying to collect every week? That's the number one question, is what's the tonnage? Because I need to, and then I look at the terrain, I look at the, if it's a bigger county, it may be easier to maneuver that truck than it is around a smaller city, with tighter streets. So we try to take all those factors in there and fit, try to fit the truck to the need more than me just selling you the truck. Because we've got big, high compaction, 28-yard, high compaction units that are gonna pick up 15 tons of garbage, double this amount. But, that's a whole different animal, and it probably do more damage on your streets than a single axle truck. So we think about that. But this truck that we've quoted has been a really nice fit for, small Alabama towns, and we've got a lot of them doing it now. More and more are coming. At least I handle half of Alabama right now, but I handled a long portion of Mississippi, and we were doing the same thing over there. Implementing these systems. And there was, like I said, there was a number of reasons to do it, and they're all good reasons, But I also sell the rear loader, so that's not my goal here.
Is there a brand or an engine that you recommend over other engines?
No, they all are unique. The truck chassis, what I sell mostly is what's on the back, and then we work with a lot of different truck manufacturers. Freightliner, Kenworth, International are kind of the primary that we've done in this class of truck, because I don't need a big dump, triaxle dump truck chassis. I just need a nice little 280 horsepower, and we can set them up they're set up with automatic transmissions, so there's no, they're just put them in D, and most anybody can operate them once they get used to it. But when you use a single axle truck, when you're doing a lot of turning and a lot of tight turning, they're a lot less damaging on the roads than the tandem axle. And then the particular unit we're quoting here, we have an option of a 20-yard or a 22, basically sitting on the same gross vehicle weight truck chassis. We're just making the tailgate a little bigger, and that's going to put us just about at what we were talking about, the capacities. That truck does about 8.5 tons. We have some communities that depend on, and one of the factors we take in is your travel to the landfill. If I'm 5 miles from a landfill, then I don't necessarily mind loading. If I'm getting it all up with one man and one truck, that's worth an extra dump a day. Here you may be dumping and coming back and holding half a ton until tomorrow. That's not the worst thing in the world. Then maybe one day a week you have to go extra, but typically it tends to balance out. You got a heavy day over here, and then the next route's maybe adds you some capacity back. So it's going to be right at it. But like I said, we were able to do it with one man and one truck. And if you pull five laborers and scatter them back here, I think you start doing the math on those numbers, and it's a significant savings, especially when you add the cost of,
Well, we know it's labor intensive to have a manual truck, and there's not anybody begging us to get on the back of that truck. They'll do that job because it's their assignment, but they're not necessarily looking to.
It's a hard job.
Yeah.
It is a hard job to do, and you're hanging on the back, and then you got to get off and work.
Yeah.
It's work to stay on them in a lot of cases.
We're spread out. Hamilton's a big area to cover. We don't have a lot of time well, certainly right here in town, you know, it's just one stop right after the other, but once we get out of, in the area there, we don't go a long way between stops. They're pretty tight. When I say tight, you know.
And you recommending this is what you think we need to go to, right?
Well, yeah. I do.
Have you put this in your budget?
I haven't, I was waiting on after the meeting today to,
But you're gonna figure it into your budget.
yes, yes.
I know we can't vote today, but I'm for going ahead. If that's what he wants to do, he knows more about it than I do. I'm for going ahead and do it.
My main concern, if we get this truck, is cooperation from everybody. Cause I really believe it's gonna be challenging for us. Everybody kind of starts backing up when you start changing things. So we're gonna need cooperation from the public. And I know we're gonna get phone calls, because we've experienced that before. But if we do it, we need to set our rules, I guess you'd wanna say, and it's only gonna work one way, you know, and if we don't, and we start making exceptions to the, you know, how we wanna do it, then it's not gonna be that beneficial to us, I think. You know.
The placement of the can is probably the hardest thing. People are creatures of habit, and here's where I put my can, and that's fine. Most of the time, it's fine. The last thing you want to do is take an arm and try to stick it out and finesse pick up around somebody's mailbox or parked car. So you want to educate them that, hey, we need help here, because first of all, it's going to make the truck smooth, run faster. The last thing I want to do is damage property or this arm on this thing. So I've had every scenario of how to implement it. Some of them have been just tough, and to be honest with you, those where they said, look, they even told their drivers, and I'll tell you the county, it's Morgan County. The gentleman wanted to generate the phone call so he could educate them as they called. And he said, if they're not placed this way, and they did a kind of a, posting notes and sending out in the bill, hey, this is what's happening, and tried to do as much education prior to it. But he wanted the the arm will reach 9 feet away from the truck. So we try to say within 5 feet of the road and nothing around it. If you can educate them. And what he did was basically told his drivers, if they're not set right, don't get it. Now, I don't know if I'd suggest that to everybody, because he did, field a lot of phone calls. But if you ride through Morgan County now in the county routes, those cans are set perfect, and those trucks, really get through the route quickly, and they're done early home, and all that truck's off the road when school hits and all that stuff. They're in and out, and so but there's Walker County, they put a little hanger on the sign. They get out, move it initially, put it where they want it, put a little thing, please place it here, and they were a little more nice about it. And that's why he was talking about maybe putting someone in the truck just to help the operator out initially and placing the cans and putting these songs on there. But I don't think that would have to be very long. I mean, one cycle through the routes, and maybe a month, and that's what Franklin County did. They just kind of wrote a helper. And also the operators are learning. They don't knock a few over. We want to clean that up. We don't leave a mess. So, but once they get good at it, it's pretty fun to watch those guys operate them, because you just watch them and they're smooth as silk, and everything's clean. And like I said, we keep a gentleman in the truck, or female. We've got a lot of female operators now, and all of them are pretty fun to watch, and they're good. And we see a lot more longevity on the trucks. You got an employee that likes that job, and they'll stay with it a little longer too.
Well, let's just say that in this next budget year that we decide that we're gonna place an order for a truck, what's the normal turnaround time and delivery time from your company if we were to order?
Probably 3 to 6 months to put it all in. Get the truck ordered, cans in. If the truck chassis, the portion under is available, which we've got some truck manufacturers that are stocking some of those for us. we can usually turn it in about 90 days. As far as the truck, the cans are about a 90-day, from order to here and then distribution. And then, like I said, part of the pricing in there is us equipping one of your other trucks with another lift, so that you can utilize it as a backup for when this truck is down. I know it's kind of going back to the old system, but rather than having to purchase a backup initially, we can utilize what you have. And then, of course, trying to stay on a rotation is not a bad idea with refuse equipment and getting it,
You might mention the warranty and finance options.
Yeah, the warranty, I think we usually try to cover the main components of the truck chassis a little longer. So it's usually 5-year engine, transmission, and then the new emission system is not covered under any of the truck warranties, so we purchased that one. And that's that new stuff that's been fun to deal with. But and all the trucks have it now, so it's where we are. But that we've covered those 3 major components for 5 years. So typically a life cycle we like to say is if you'll run a truck for 5 years, there's still value there, and you've basically essentially paid it off through that finance period. You own it, so then it's kind of a good way to balance out costs. So then you consider rotating that truck at that time, or if you're going to add, keep your truck cycled like you currently are. I mean, you are typically buying them on about a 7-year clip now. Then you may keep it a little longer as a backup truck. Now you don't have to worry about the rear loader anymore. That gets you through that cycle. But a lot of times the value of them is better at 3 to 5 years than it is from 5 to 7. There's quite a bit of drop. So if you were wanting to turn them, you're going to get a little more back towards the purchase of the next one if you'll run them in 5 years and
Twice since we started this administration, I've had panic calls from Mike, and he said, well, the electrical system is messed up on this truck. The packing system, sweep system is messed up on this one. He said, we're down essentially to one truck. I'm gonna try to borrow one from the county to run our routes. And he said, my backup truck's not fit to run this right now. So he's been panicked a couple of times when he called, and he worries about being timely with the garbage pickup. It's a big deal for the people. And I realize he's kind of nervous about what he's operating out of, and as you can see, in the norm, 500,000 miles is a good bit of over-the-road truck miles, but 200,000 the way we run them, stop and go.
You have to look at garbage trucks on hours, not mileage, because you're not running a lot of miles around the city, but you're running those things all day, every day.
But we have had those conversations, have we not,
Oh,
Mike?
yeah, yes.
And he was very nervous.
Especially on those double days, it really.
When he would call me and said, I don't know if this is gonna work, we're gonna see. And he'd take that electrical problem to the shop in Tupelo, and they'd finally figure it out. I think one of our trucks had to have pretty much a whole wiring harness exchange out. That's extensive. They couldn't find the electrical problem without doing a major. But anyway, Will, I think we're going to open it up now for questions from the council to you. I appreciate the explanation you've given us, and some of the shop stories that that are success stories make me feel better about considering changing over.
We've bloodied our nose in places, and so that my experience comes from basically we've implemented this setup, all the setups in a lot of places, and I try to get most of my knowledge from what he's having to do every day, what he's putting up with, and that's all over the state. We do have, so I hope I can bring some insight into that, because we've experienced it somewhere.
That mechanical arm doesn't sweat as much as mine, right?
No, and he typically doesn't call in on a Monday morning. you
Yeah.
know, when it's raining
It'll
out.
go with the truck
You know,
and work.
you know, now, it is mechanical, you know, and this truck's mechanical just like the rear loader, so there's gonna have to be repairs done that, you know, we need to prepare for that, you know, that's why.
Well, tell us about that.
Well,
How
you know-
long should an arm last?
Well, if you, and one of the things I believe we put on here was an automatic lubing system. Biggest issue we've ever had with automated arms was just actually getting an operator to grease the arm. You know, there's fittings on there and everything that's hinged and moving has a grease point on there. So what we've started doing as a company years ago, we made the decision that we're gonna put automated lube systems on our trucks as standard. And what that is, it's a canister that sits on the side of the truck and it's got a metering gauge that feeds a little pinhead of grease to all those fittings just continuously. It's got a little cycle it does, and so it keeps those grease. We've seen arm rebuilds in some cases where they would not touch them at all, you know, go a year to 3 to 5 years now, basically almost the life of the truck. Lawrence County was a great example of that because our initial trucks we put in there, we really never experienced arm issues. You know, you'll have some, you know, there's a little belting on there that's kind of stock parts they'll have to have. That's the way the arms work. You stretch the arm out, you hit a button, it's going to grip it with it's almost like a rubber band tensioners and spring tensioners. So we try not to damage the can and leave the little rollers on the front, so it kind of rolls the can in and gets a good tight grip on it. We dump it, but once they grab it, they're holding this one button and it's taking it and dumping it for them. Then the operator places the can back, he hits the release, and it takes and stows the arm for him. So he's not having to do a whole lot of movement with it, just basically stopping the truck in the right spot and reaching out and grabbing it. So it's very simple to operate, and you know, but the arm would be the maintenance, you know, probably the biggest maintenance, or just, you know, brakes and hoses and you know, tires, just like all the other garbage trucks. Really, we don't see a real difference between this truck and the current trucks you're running as far as brake wear or tire wear, you know, because you're hauling essentially a very similar load. Now, you know, we've seen a lot of different examples. We've got, like I said, cities with almost identical population sizes that are implementing these. Sometimes it's counties running the cities, you know, but y'all have questions? Anybody?
I'd like to get a little more detailed on the layout of, I want to see the cans versus the truck and equipment that you're talking about, like the extra arm and installation of that, and the truck itself. This is kind of a package deal that we're talking about.
Sure.
I'd like to see that broke down where
can do
we can
that.
all look at it together and make decisions on, if any of it, what portions of it we want to purchase, and if anything we want to leave out.
Sure.
So if you could arrange that for us and get it to Mike.
Yeah, I
pretty
have the
soon.
can pricing, so we can get that shortly. The cans are, if you back out the price of the actual overall, let's see if I got that. Normally they itemize it out so that you would see the can pricing with it, but I can get that put on there. And y'all can,
Well, let's do it so that we're seeing it all as the items
Sure.
that we're buying, okay?
okay,
And I'd like you to get that into Mike pretty soon so that he
Sure,
can
that's not a
share it
problem.
with each, we'll put one of those in each council person's slots so they can look them over and be thinking about it. We don't know when we'll place this order.
sure.
We just know we've got a need. It's got to be
Well,
met.
and, you know, I utilize in this case, a Kenworth, T370 Kenworth, but, you know, I can do an M2 Freightliner or a, you know, Max Force International, you know, Russell's running internationals. So I can do similar chassis, so we might can even adjust the truck, you know, itself
Right.
before the initial, you know. Now, the quote itself, just so you know, was done through one of the national cooperatives. So it's already basically been bid nationally. And so we're just, you know, Howell was one of the original, if you've ever heard of Sourcewell or NJPA, you know, they were the original garbage truck manufacturer that was on the NJPA. Now there's a few other choices, but, so that was already done. So this quote is bid pricing. It's cooperative purchasing, which is approved by Alabama.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll be glad to
Yeah,
bring that.
that's the same when we purchased our track coat. The same situation there. They're in JPA.
And you
It's
guys
sourced
are a
that
member.
Yeah, yeah, so,
That guarantees us as good a buy as we can possibly get then.
And it kind of changes the whole process a little bit. Basically, y'all make the decision, we can get everything rolling and get it to you as quick as possible.
We appreciate,
financing is available,
Yes.
and you might wanna talk about, just, I hate to keep dragging this out, but paying in arrears and,
Yeah, a lot of finance package, and I don't represent those. It's kind of a tool, and we know a lot of the main bank that we've dealt with, I guess, is Bancorp for this municipal financing. They're members of the League of Municipality. They do all the league shows every year, so y'all may have met them if you've been down there. But it's not just them, we have other sources, but typically how, they work is if you wanted to purchase, this package, pending approval with your bank, they typically can do it annual payments. So you break it out 5 payments over 5 years, they can do it in arrears where you can actually implement it and kind of let the system pay for itself. Let the billing, and we've done that in a number of places. Quite a few, probably more than most, when we're doing a whole, CAN layout and everything, we tend to use that system. And, I can get quotes or at least lead you to them from the bank, but also you can take it and shop it. We have a lot of communities that'll do that. They'll take that one and then use it to kind of know what they're dealing with if they're wanting to talk to someone local that wants the business. We're not in the banking business on our side. We're equipment sales, but, we do know them. Deal with them.
thank you for that information. Any other questions, Will, today? We've got a few other areas we want to talk
Thanks a lot.
about.
Thank y'all for the
and,
time.
we
Appreciate you
thank
coming.
for
I
coming.
really do appreciate it. Appreciate you having
to
me.
you.
I'm gonna squeeze by you now. I might need a little more than the average man.
Comprehensive report you gave us, thank you.
Right.
Will.
Thank y'all. Have a good day.
All right. Well, let's just see, items like that are expensive, and we've had each department kind of looking at their budgets, and several of them have already submitted budgets for the year. I've got mine lined up, actually, fire department, and it happens to be the one that's on top of me. If y'all can find your fire department budgets, and we'll look briefly at those. There's a breakdown that's attached for each item, pretty much, each line item pretty much is broken down. Some of them are sum total line items. On toward the back is some of the comments our fire chief has placed in the request items. It says, I'm requesting one firefighter to be hired for the upcoming budget year. And that's due to being one short on enabling us to have 2 people for every shift. According to him, he has a shortfall for of one person to be able to cover every shift with 2 people. That's something for consideration. That's just a request. We're not making a decision, but I wanted y'all to be thinking on these things. And then on the other comment right behind that is a request of a raise for he and the assistant fire chief, and that has to do with the inspection jobs that they can carry out. They've been doing this for 5 years. And I don't know if they give additional time or if they're doing some of this off the clock, or if they're doing this inspection on the clock, that's something we'll try to get a little more of an answer on. And then there's also a further request there that we talk about, employees over 5 years service, a raise, and then for those that have been there less than 5 years, a smaller increase in their pay. So we're gonna take all these matters in consideration. I want y'all to just be aware of those as you look through each department. That's the fire
How many
department.
firemen do we have?
Is it 8? 8 paid, and roughly 25, including all volunteers.
Right, we've got 8 paid, including Matt and Tim. And then we had 4 that we used part-time, but then you hired Jody full-time, so we've got the 3 part-time ones that we call on, so all the shifts are filled. You approved 4, and one of them
Lately,
you
I've been
hired.
seeing 2, when I write the checks, I've been seeing 2 that get,
Okay, so we got 2 part-time.
Yes,
Oh,
the other
shit.
two, I think there were conflicts and they're not able to work part-time anymore.
Well, Jody got hired full-time.
He did.
He was a part-time, so.
in the case of I've got the seniors department, Brenda Oswald has submitted her needs as being exactly the same, no changes in her budget for the coming year. She's gonna operate on the 19 budget for 20. I have next the Hamilton Water Works roofing. Rodney's here, so we'll let him speak to that. On chemicals and matters like that, do you see a need for increase in chemical, Rodney, or are we gonna be pretty good on that?
I've not had any update from the chemical companies that there will be an increase in 2020. There's always that possibility of a small increase in chemical prices.
Okay. We have not supplemented the water department as much this year as we have in previous years. One of the big items that came off of Rodney's budget was our bond payment of $600,000. That got shifted to off of his back to other debt payment. We're still paying that debt, okay, and by refinancing our bonds, we've lessened our monthly amount we have to dedicate to bond payments, so that's gonna be some help in our budget, allow us to do a few things extra. Rodney, you were gonna address us on a matter today, so while we're continuing to look, we'll let you talk for a minute there.
I don't know if any of you have noticed, down at our shop, I asked the mayor a month or so ago about getting some quotes on getting our shop painted down there, the outside of the building down there at the shop. We've been in that shop approximately 15 years or longer, a little over 15, I believe. Never been anything done to it. And it's getting to the point, it's getting some rusty spots on it, and I have got some quotes. I've got some pictures here I'll let y'all look at. I've got some quotes on getting that shop repainted. It would be sprayed on it, the metal that actually be sprayed.
I believe you told me the estimate of paint was around 60 gallons or so.
They, both estimates I've got, told me it would take around 60 gallon of paint. That building's 100 foot wide and 150 foot long. It's a big building. I got a local quote from a local man here in town. His quote, and this quote, both quotes that I'm fixing to tell you, consist of pressure washing the whole building before they paint it. They're gonna pressure wash it. They're gonna fix any gutters that's hanging down, or get them screwed back in, and painting it. And the local quote I got was $8,150. That's for pressure washing, fixing the gutters, painting and everything. I got an out of town quote. Now the quote I got from out of town is the same gentleman that has painted the press box and field house up at the football stadium. I don't know if any of you has noticed it, but it's a nice job, looks like. The quote he gave me was $5,500. So he's about $2,650 cheaper than the local quote I got. And he's doing the same thing. This paint that they would use on painting this building is made for painting metal buildings. I mean, it's not just your typical paint.
Same paint?
It's the same paint.
The same paint and both.
Both of them told me it would be the paint to paint on these buildings. Both of them told me the paint's about $50 a gallon for the price of the paint. And you take 60 gallons, that's $3,000 worth of paint right there.
I appreciate Rodney taking a closer look at his building. When you're driving by at 30, 40 miles an hour, you might say, hey, nice building, but when you start looking at the accumulated rust and wear on the building, you see a need for this maintenance. Also, these gutters and things like that are beginning to break down and need to be.
If you use these people before, that you say that you're the slower bid.
I have not, but like I said, they painted the press box
Yeah.
and field house up here at the football field.
And it all looks good, just looking from the road,
Right.
it looks real good.
And they're the ones that suggested these people to me. They gave me his number and everything, because they thought he did a good job up there.
Makes a lot of difference.
So you're sure the out-of-town price includes the paint?
Yes.
Includes everything the other,
Yes.
both of them bid on the same thing.
Quite a bit of difference, huh?
Now, what was the difference in?
The difference was $2,650.
The price of the paint, basically.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to make sure.
Good, down at the football stadium.
Well, that would be just one of the, we wanted to bring that to the attention of the full council today. Rodney, of course, has submitted his budget. In each case where departments are requesting any sort of raises, I don't want us to enter into any agreements for raises till we talked with Alan Cantrell about our budget. He's gonna give us budget recommendations. Merit raises, status raises, things like that, where people have achieved goals and things like that, or something. I'm thinking more about considering than across the board raises. We've done that in this administration, and I want us to be real cautious in our agreements for raises going forward, so far as
And
across the board.
how is that coming with getting all the men certified down there at the because they were gonna get a raise. You were arranging their school, and I know they have one session. Have you continued with that? Are they still going to school? When are
They-
they gonna be ready to take their test?
They're gonna be in another class coming up.
And, there's some, and even in this budget here, there's some, kind of, raising, and I just want us to all be totally cautious and clear about committing to any raises to anyone till we study our budget, go over it carefully with Alan Cantrell and see where we are. We've had a lot of overtime, we've done some adjusting for operators and different things since we've given an across-the-board raise. We've got some people that have been working on merit raises or merit status as far as having more qualifications and things like that. So I want us to carefully plan for any sort of raise we might consider in this next fiscal year. And I don't want us to in any way commit to anyone that we'll give them a raise till we look carefully at this year's budget. So we got several equipment needs that have been made known, and we're going to be looking at, in the case of the police department, the police department's asking for 2 officers and 4 vehicles. I've already told Ronnie that if we replace the rest of these vehicles, it'll be no more than 2 vehicles per year till we get those Dodges phased out. Unless it's some sort of an accident or that we've got to buy one. We've had some of that in the past where we wrecked some and had to replace them because of a total. We had one stolen from us, and the guy that stole it wrecked it and totaled it. So we have incidents sometimes where they're unexpected, but as far as phasing out the Dodges with these Hemi engines, I'd like for us to consider 2 vehicles a year till we get those replaced. And I'm open to suggestion there if y'all think something different. I want Ronnie to address us on his needs for personnel. I want to hear from him on his reasoning there, but needing 2 officers and not 1. So we'll have him down at one of our workshops before we decide on that. And I don't want to turn a deaf ear to needs. I just want to make sure that we understand why we're doing it, if we're doing it. So that's his request. Basically, not a lot of change in his budget other than those budget requests. And I asked him to get pricing on the Fords and the Chevrolets, and he was unable to, at this point, get exact pricing on the Fords. They have V6 engines, and he said they're somewhere around $32,000. He did get me pricing on the 2-wheel drive Tahoes. The state bid on the Tahoes is $30,739, and the options price is $1,168 for a total of $31,907 for a Tahoe. And that's per vehicle, that's not 2. 31,907. That's for police department. The rec center. They've adopted a slightly raised budget, about 20,000 or less, about 20, from 468 to 481. Do the math. Rodney, you're smart. How much is that? 481 minus 468.
Don't even look at me if I don't have my
$13.
calculator with me.
I have to take my shoes off.
You let go.
$13?
Oh,
13. Huh?
1,300.
Well, whatever, what they talk, I
13,000.
Yeah.
All right.
Are they asking for a raise too?
Let me see,
Because they went up from,
we're going down in the sheets one by one here, let me see what we got.
Looks like they are asking for,
Salaries,
I don't know what.
were 215, anticipated salaries for 2020 is 225, so that's $10,000 increase, and I don't know if that's part-time help or if that's increases for our leaders, I don't know.
Some of them asking for $2 an hour.
ADA bathrooms,
Pretty good raise.
ADA bathrooms for the baseball field is one of Tim's requests, around 32,000. Lawnmower, they had a lawnmower cable break and all but go head first off into the creek over there between the ball field and the playground at the rec center the other day. The bank hung it up and kept them from having a catastrophe. Anyway, they worked several hours on one of the lawnmowers, and he said, we'll make it through the season, but we'll have to have one lawnmower next year. I think the newest one they've got is 11 years old.
now, back on this bathroom, is that not what Mike Reed was supposed to come talk to us about one day at one meeting?
He was supposed to help, yeah. We've got non-compliant bathrooms at the baseball field for ADA compliant. And those were kind of just built in a hurry and somebody didn't get them up to standards, up to code. He's trying to correct that problem before it becomes a bigger problem. The lawnmower's roughly 20, and 2 sets of bleachers he's needing is about 8,000. So that's just his specific budget items, and he has a slight increase in overall salary.
Who is this asking for $2 an hour?
That's
Fire department.
fire department guys, the chief and the assistant. I think that some of that's based on them doing additional services for the city, other than firework. That's for their inspection things, I think. The library budget, let's see this next.
I do believe Star said she had put in her budget to have a part-time worker. She needs somebody else to help her.
Okay. Yeah, she's had a slight increase in her budget to take care of that. The court budget is next in my thing. There's some it's based on a $100,000 budget, and it appears that there's not any. Last year's budget was 100, and this year's budget is going to be 100.
Something must have changed because there's, or I can't read those numbers.
Oh, that's
Maybe
in,
says-
that's
Public
anticipated,
defender
Yeah, the
fees were
public defender
increased.
fees, I can't read.
anticipated revenue, yeah, I see that. The first is revenue, and then it goes to expenses. So there's public defender's fees went from 29,000 to 30. That's a $6,000 change. Looks like that's the item, about $6,000 change in her expenses overall, so.
And what did you decide? Is she gonna get mileage going back and forth between here and there, or is she gonna use your vehicle going back and forth, or what did y'all
We're
work
gonna
out?
everything we can. We're gonna move it by electronic movement, where we can, and we'll do what's necessary to comply with rules. We haven't agreed on that yet. We've only agreed to move. And the new date shall be, if all notices can be properly given, I've asked that to be November 1, to have them up and running here, so we can support the court system.
And how are we gonna move?
How are we gonna move? We're getting a phone and
No, I mean, is.
the magistrate
is
will come
she-
here.
I know that, but is she physically moving all of her equipment, or are we having somebody move all the computers and the filing cabinets and all that?
She hasn't stated her needs yet. I've just met with her and set a date for the move, and we're gonna have to work out the logistics of it. We'll help her as much as she needs to help to get here. May have to get the computer technician, Mr. Hawkins, to set her office up. I plan on doing that. I think it'll be a much smoother operation to have her here where we can properly assist her and back her up where she needs it. And we're gonna do our best to get that running on a more smooth basis, where our collections can be as needed. That's been way off. Look over these budgets, and we'll get Alan to come talk with us once he gets the budgets put together. We'll talk about what we've actually done this year in the way of revenues, how much we're gonna save on our bond refinance on a monthly basis. That's going to show us pretty much what we can afford to do in the coming year. We want to make sure that we have a pretty good feel for what we can do. We know that at some point we've got to address the first presentation we heard. Rodney's needs are real. His building's got to be maintained. Some of the things Tim needs at the rec center should be done. We'll just have to look at the rest of these things and see if we can do them in this coming year, or if we're a year away from some of them. But as these needs arise, we need to meet them. Mike, I'd like for you to give us a little update on your street repairs you've been doing and where you're moving to next.
Okay. Right now, we're working over in, well, let me go back and tell you what we've done so far. There's Oak Hill Circle, Scarlet Drive, let me think again. Maywood Road.
Dickert and Carter's Road.
Yeah. That. Name of that street. I can't remember, but anyway, right now we're at Brookview, Brookstone, in that neighborhood over there, where Tommy Emerson and Scott Weeks.
Didn't you do Northvale, Southvale?
Northvale, Southvale. You caught me off guard. I can't remember all of them.
You're fixing to go to the Mill Pond and.
Yeah, right now we're at Brookview and Brookstone. We're patching over there. We've trimmed all the limbs back. We're ditching. We had to replace a culvert over there, and probably next week we'll tar and slag it. Then from there, we'll move down to the mill pond. While we're in that, we'll do the entire loop that goes through the mill pond. There's a little back street that goes from the mill pond area over to Hardy's back down in there that needs
It's
to be.
washed away, we're
It's
gonna
really
fix that.
washed away, so we're gonna fix that. And then while we're in the area, we're gonna, fix the street that goes in front of the fish seafood place.
West, okay.
Yeah. The poles have already been moved, and the church has moved their fence back to where, close to
We'll
where
allow all those trucks
So
and
we make
trailers
that-
come and
we'll
go.
make that turn in there. And then we got a couple of small projects as far as, we're gonna extend Mapleton Street, probably 100 feet. And, we've got a couple of, aprons that we need to do up here in town.
How's our patching machine coming along?
Well, right now, we're trying to stay just in front of where we are as far as our paving goes. They've spent 3 days now over in the Brookview neighborhood area over there. There's a lot of work that has to be done there before we can actually tar and slag over it. So we're filling in holes, edges of the side, edges of the road, places like that. So we've probably got another day or so over there, and we should be ready to tar and slag that road, those roads, next week. And then we've got 2 more culverts we've got to replace down on the south end of Steel Street. And if there's any weather permitting after that, then we'll do a little bit more paving. But more than likely, this mill pond will probably finish up our actual tar and slag, and we're gonna continue to patch all the way through.
I want you to dress up the rec center area
Yeah.
for us too,
Right.
before y'all hang it up.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like you've done a lot.
they've been busy. And besides that, they've been called on to do everything under the sun for schools and what have you. But they've done a good job this summer, working hard, and they didn't pick up any additional helpers this summer. He's done all this with his crew, the crew that's full-time. He didn't use any part-time help or any inmate help. He's done it with his crew, and I'm real proud of the work they've done. Barbara Cooper's office has contacted us, and the city is supposed to nominate County Board of Equalization candidates to serve on the Board of Equalization. That has to do with people who dispute the values of their property with her office, and kind of arbitrate the values sometime for folks. And it's one of those jobs that I guess people do without much thank you. I don't know how many times they have to act, but they have to have a Board of Equalization for every county. And she's wanting our city to nominate at least 3 persons. I've come up with some names that I think would be suitable because they've had experience with real estate or appraisal, and that would be Mr. Hugh Holland, Jerome Logan, Steve Rogers, and Troy Moore. I haven't talked to any of those folks, but I think they know a good bit about value of property, and they've bought and traded on a lot of properties. And if y'all have some folks you want me to add to this list, I'm gonna try to contact some of these people and see if they'll be willing to serve on this board. Can y'all think of someone you'd like me to add on that list, or do you think I should delete any of the ones I named? Got anybody in mind that might be willing to serve, or? You got a boy that might serve. Gene, you think Scotty would serve?
I doubt it.
All right. Tammy, can you think of anybody you'd like to see placed in nomination?
No, I can't remember who we did last year. I know it's, there was some question last year just because we recommend them something. I can't remember all the
Yeah, I don't
rules
think-
from all that last
Yeah,
year.
all these persons nominated won't be selected, but they're needing the three to select from, and the county gets to nominate some people, and
What kind of board is it?
it's an equalization board.
I'll ask Scotty.
All right, we'll ask him. If he wants to serve, we'll put him in nomination. And he'll be working with Barbara Cooper in the Cots office. Do you think of anybody, Angela, that you think might be suitable? You guys know anybody that might be good for this? Well, we'll try to contact these and see if they're willing, and I think that'd all be good. Everybody we've talked about here, they know a lot about properties. Angela, you got anything else for today?
I do, about getting you a vehicle.
Okay.
He just doesn't like to talk about it, so. But, I have talked.
Don't make no fuss during here.
I've talked to Scott Hunt, about like the bid process or whatever, and, I talked to Donahue Chevrolet. There are not state bids for the Chevy Equinox. They do like the, Tahoes, which are quite a bit more expensive than what we could get the Equinox for. Or they do basically the same kind of car he has now. To do the Traverse, I have sent out quote request, explain to them what we were doing, who we were buying it for, who we were, and I've gotten several responses. I'm still waiting on a few more from all over the state of Alabama, and y'all are welcome to look at any of this stuff, any of my notes. The 2019s are like $26,000. We did find one for $25,000, maybe $400,000. The best price that we've come across has been here at Fike Chevrolet for a 20 model. And it's for $25,948.10. That's been the best quote that we've received, and I have checked all over the state. I was really hoping that
What's wrong with the facts?
what's wrong.
What model?
It's a 2020 model,
Oh, and the others
Traverse
are
or
not.
Equinox?
Is
the
it
Equinox.
the Equinox?
Yes.
And the others are Traverses.
Did I say Traverse?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They're all Equinoxes. The only one that had a state bid were on Tahoes, which were quite a bit more
Yeah, they're-
expensive.
yeah.
That's the only state bid they have on those, but for the Equinoxes, that was the best price that we could find. I mean, that is honest, and
Well,
like I said, y'all can check any of my
Okay.
notes. I'm waiting on 2 more
We can buy it here
dealerships.
at home. I think
Yeah.
we need to buy it here at home.
I would
That
too.
sounds good to me. I think we're all agreeable to that.
Well, I did check at Auburn Chevrolet, because I was really hoping they'd have one, and the mayor would have to drive one with the big Auburn Chevrolet.
Sounds good to me. He might have bought his own. He's not listening.
No, he's ignoring, but honestly, that is the best price that we've had is here at Fike Chevrolet on a 20 model. And I would like to have that on the agenda for Monday night.
Equinox suits you, is that?
But
This
that's,
says it's a 19.
There was a 19, but there is a 20 also. I don't think y'all have that paperwork.
this-
Is it an
The
LT?
20,914 that he just handed me is on the 19.
That's on a different one. I found this Chevrolet and I asked them to try to get it, and they did, so.
we've had some, I didn't know which one I've given you.
Yes, they did have a 19 for $25,914.
So what's on the one, this 20?
It's the same equipment list. I think there was one difference. What was I think this one has the black interior where the other one had the ash gray is the only difference. And he still needs a car. I think Wade actually rode in it. So Wade, can you back that up, that the mayor needs a new car?
I believe he could use a new car.
So you have to go on that trip with me.
He said, I hope we make it.
But I would like to put that on the agenda for Monday night for us to vote on that.
We feel better when we
You need a-
get home.
You need to, well.
No,
put
we'll do
on
it
the agenda.
Monday. I just,
Yeah.
I wanted y'all to look at everything.
So is it this car?
She's looked at so many, that's just one that she found.
I don't even know. I don't know. I'd have to look. Because when you look online, it may advertise it for, $23,000. But when you look at what all you have to do to get it at that price, you have to trade in like not a GM vehicle. You have to apply for their credit card. Like if you're a repeat customer, you get a discount. All those discounts have to come into play to get it at that price, which,
I saw one that Pike sent on 20, I looked at one that she showed me that was under 26,000.
Well, you said this one was 20,000 something, this Equinox,
25.9.
or 25.9?
yes,
For a
it's for a 20.
Oh, you said
Year
20
model.
miles. Oh, okay.
It'll have probably less than 50 miles on it. They consider it a new one.
Get a price on that, one on the Pinto, we'll go from there.
That's what it would be.
I mean, more than I could be.
They got some of them little foreign cars, 15, 16,000
Well, we thank everybody
You can
for
coast
coming
down
today, and if we all we just need to pay attention to our 20 budget. We've spent a lot of money this year, and we don't want to overspend for the amount of income, but we've done some things to save some money. I think we can afford to do a few things this year, but we may need to be a little cautious in our spending, and let's,
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.